The video gave an example of a young man pretending to stay up all night and then commenting that he'll just call in sick because he's tired. The video, since taken down due to a copyright claim, goes on to interview various teachers who explain how much the children love to see their ALTs and how disrupted it is when an ALT suddenly doesn't show up to work. Posted in Reddit's Teaching in Japan subreddit, most comments went on to criticize INTERAC, an ALT dispatch company, for trying to guilt trip employees to going to work sick. Although the video never actually says this, nor even hints at it, sentiment was mostly negative towards the company or work culture in Japan. So unfortunately, you guys didn't see this video.
No.
So sad. The video is pretty high production quality, like pretty high. Like it looked like they literally filmed this on a webcam and then they transmitted it over Zoom.
Wow.
It was so shitty.
Movie quality.
It was so crap. But anyway, it was basically like what happens when you call into sick at work.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I watched this movie as a Eikawa school owner. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, you fuckers, you shouldn't be screwing around and calling into work when you're hungover or when you just didn't want to go to work. That's fucked up. People are counting on you. Was my initial response to this, right?
Right.
Because I don't know anything about this company. So just like, you know, whatever. And then I go to the comments section, and here we go. Let's read some of the comments, right?
Okay.
It says, so this is from It's Toki Time, Redditor, It's Toki Time. There is a pandemic. INTERAC should be encouraging teachers to stay home if they are sick and get tested, not trying to guilt ALTs into coming to work no matter what by using cute children. It's Toki Time goes on to say, the Japanese teachers they interview are also apparently former elementary and junior high school teachers. How much do you want to bet they are currently employed by INTERAC? What is Link? I don't know, whatever. Batchwork responded with, didn't you watch the video? ALTs are sick because they stay up all night gaming. So I put this in here because like this is the only guy that I think that actually watched the video. Because
right.
Basically the video was not about coming to work sick. It didn't say it anywhere in the video. Like if you have a fever, please come to work and infect everybody. It didn't say that. It was just like, don't fuck around. And I guess it could have made it clearer. It could have been better about it. And like, I guess like showing kids is like ALT sensei, we love you is kind of poor taste.
Right.
And apparently INTERAC is like a shithole company that hires, we'll talk about that in a second, but like I learned some stuff after that. But anyway, there's two more comments that I want to read. The Enlightened Fool commented, I work for INTERAC and this reminds me of a conversation I had in November with a manager. My father had a stroke and I was terrified that I might lose him, so I wanted to visit him over Christmas. The manager tried to guilt trip me into staying and made out the lack of substitutes was my problem and that I needed to consider the inconvenience that I would cause despite giving them notice a month in advance. I'm so appalled by the inhumane and callous attitudes of even the lowest level of management. So, Alex, you and I used to be ALTs. Mm-hmm. You used to own an English school. I own an English school. Mm-hmm. Let's just pretend that you've seen this movie. It's like basically trying, like, it's treating their employees like they're little kids, like they're university students still. It's like, you should come to school because if you don't, it causes trouble. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you feel about that?
Depends on the messaging of the video, doesn't it, really? I mean...
Again, Zoom quality.
I can imagine. It's not about the quality, it's about who's in it and what they're saying, I suppose. But
I wish it was still up, but INTERAC apparently copyright claimed the video and got YouTube to take it down.
Oh, so it wasn't a good reaction.
So they weren't happy about it being publicly broadcasted.
You know, I mean, if you're going to employ somebody, you shouldn't patronize them. There are requirements you have to fulfill with any job, and you know, doing them as part of your contract.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is with these companies is that they've got a lot of sunk costs. Yeah. Because they bring the person out to Japan. Sometimes they have to train them. I don't know if they train them much or not. I don't know. And then, you know, they potentially could lose contracts with the boards of education if people don't turn up as well. Right. So there's a lot lying on the company that's providing these LTs. And, you know, there are people who turn up and just think it's a laugh. Yeah. So why should I turn up, or, you know, why should I work hard or whatever?
Generally speaking, people I think want to get into the JET program if they want to be an ALT because just the pay gap. Yeah. And even, I mean, INTERAC is, I would say, like candidates that can't get into the JET program usually will then try for INTERAC, or people who are already in the country who can't get into the JET program for various reasons then go into.
Well, if you understand the relationship between private companies and public companies in Japan, it makes a lot of sense why INTERAC is kind of, you know, viewed negatively like this.
Yeah.
Because if you work for a board of education directly through the JET program, it's, their own people. So if you happen to take a day off, the only people who've got to get angry at is themselves because they've mismanaged you.
Yeah.
But if it's a public body working with a private company,
then they get angry at the company.
Yeah. So it's the company's fault.
Yeah.
So it's easy for them to bash the company to make them do something. So in that sense, working for INTERAC is always going to be a worse position than working for a body directly, because the public workers won't shit on their own people.
It depends.
Oh no, they might do.
They'll shit on an ALT depending.
Yeah, I suppose so. That's true. But
my take on this is that I knew a guy who used to do management for this company, and he said that basically the level of the workers is shit. Mm-hmm. And it's probably, if you work for INTERAC, I'm not talking to you. I'm just saying in general, like there's great people and there's shit people whatever company that you get involved in. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, a lot of the people who work for a ALT dispatch company like this they do 30 hours a week. It's kind of semi full time. There's no responsibilities outside of work. You don't take work home. This is all generalization, so don't get all angry at me if your situation is different. But for the most part, you don't have to take work home with you and things like that. And so this kind of attracts people who their job is not their main thing in life. They just do their job because they kind of have to, or for to sustain their hobbies or whatever it is. And so those kind of people are just not as, what is the word? They're not as inclined to, take the job as seriously as someone who's like, this is my career job. I'm going to do this until I retire. Yeah. Right. I mean, who does INTERAC until they retire? No one. Right. And so it's the incentivization here, right? Like the people who are working there are not incentivized to do their best. And at the same time, INTERAC is like incentivized to, make sure that the ALTs show up to work and so that they don't get their contracts canceled. And I guarantee you that the budget that each one of these BOEs is paying for is less than what they would have to pay for a regular ALT, right? That's why they're using one of these dispatch companies to begin with, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they've lowballed the government of what is it called, the government body, and so they've gotten a discount price, and then they probably overpromised, right? And so like they don't have the money or the budget to have a bunch of substitute teachers to cover for kids who are calling out sick because maybe they drank too much. There's legitimate times to call out sick. But I'm sure that there's a lot of these ALTs who are just fucking off and not going to work.
Oh yeah. I mean, even the ALTs that go to the schools. I mean, it's not like a full-on job, is it? Like a teacher stood there, you read out some shit.
We're gonna. Sorry, if you're an ALT. Just go with us on this one, okay? You're not a real teacher. Not every single one of you this applies to, but for the most part, you're not a real teacher. You don't have to prepare. It actually said in the video that was posted online that they don't prepare the lessons and things like that. A lot of the schools don't know how to use you. You use like a tape recorder, so you feel like your job's not important. It's easy. It's just easy to call in sick to a job like that. Yeah. It really just comes down to incentivization. If you feel like that you're important, if you're not there, the kids are gonna like die. Because there's no one there to watch them, then it's a different motivation, different pressure to go to school and go to work. Then it's just like, oh, their favorite toy is not going to show up for playtime today.
Well, that's the kind of wrong attitude that INTERAC took, right? Yeah. It's like, the plaything's not going to turn up today. And, that's not going to motivate anybody to.
It was guilt tripping. The video was pretty guilt tripping. The kids' part.
Yeah, but even guilt tripping like that, I mean, it's like, I always got sick of the ALT image of like fun foreigner turning up to play with.
Well, because you're not a fun foreigner.
Because I'm not fun. So if you try and play with me, man, you're going to get slapped.
If INTERAC was like, having issues with people who aren't sick, we're not talking about people who are sick. If you're sick, don't go to work. My school's policy is if you even feel sick, don't show up. Like that's the thing. Because all of my teachers want to come to school. They want to see their students, and they feel bad when they're not at school because they know that they're like imposing upon the other teachers. And so the incentive there is to go to work. Right. So when people do call in, I know that they're seriously not feeling well and they shouldn't come. And I tell them, if you even have a low grade fever, don't come to school. Yeah. Because I don't want you infected. This is pre-pandemic. Like this is for years. We have we don't even count the many days that you have for your sick days off. We're just like, if you're sick, don't come to school.
Well, that's like, empowerment, isn't it? Right. Let people make their own decisions and,
But then again,
have a degree of responsibility.
My teachers at my school aren't ALTs. They're teachers. They are responsible for their kids, for their students. But how would you, if you were INTERAC, right? And let's say that you were with all the best intentions. I'm not saying that they have good intentions because they probably don't, but let's just say you have the best intentions. How do you make sure that you message to your teachers that, hey, it's actually important that you show up to work?
Message them like adults. Say if you have a sick day off, bring in a sick note
Yeah.
to prove that you've gone to the doctor, which I think is a reasonable thing to do. Instead of making them use NQ for yearly holidays.
Your annual days off holiday.
Yeah,
paid PTO, paid time off.
Yeah, have sick leave,
Yeah.
that's reserved for that. And then also educate the schools and the boards of education that, the teachers that they are sending to them are not just playthings to be, had fun with for a spare lesson, and try and empower them to be able to do more things, at the job to make it more worthwhile.
I think the problem with this company is that their bottom line is profitability.
What's the profit margin on it?
Probably very small, right? Well, my question is like, who is signing up for this company? Like, what are your goals? If this is your dream to do this, then yeah, having a patronizing video about don't call in a sick guys is like annoying as fuck for sure.
Well, I mean, if you just come in because you want to get into Japan, get through the door, and learn a bit about Japanese and Japanese culture or whatever.
Or maybe the spouse of somebody else who's working here.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you can't really criticize, but, at the same time, I suppose if you've accepted how much you're going to get paid, the cost of it.
And that you're going to get kind of handled like a commodity.
Yeah. Then just, you've accepted it. So just put up with it.
Let's talk about how we actually should be teaching English. None of that ALT crap.
Yeah.
Because even if you're the best ALT out there, if you're letting the curriculum and the lesson planning happen on the Japanese side of things, chances are those kids are not going to understand or learn English. It's just garbage. And there's no fulfillment in that whatsoever. When you know that your 50 minutes with those kids is going to amount to shit, maybe a memory for some of them, but that's about it. It can be demoralizing.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I mean, foreign language education generally is like a nightmare in any country. How much of it sticks. Think about it. If
you know that, INTERAC or JET program or whatever is a stepping stone on the way to something that you want to do, good for you. If that's your end goal, I would seriously consider, reconsider working for a company like INTERAC. I just it doesn't seem like, I've never met anybody that worked for that company, and I used to know a dispatching manager for that company. I've never known anybody who loved it. I know a lot of people who tolerated and did it, but I don't know anybody who loved it.
Well, if you've got a goal and you're motivated enough to come to Japan and get a kind of lower salary for a couple of years or a year or two, whatever.
And then jump to something else,
before doing something else. Yeah. You're not really going to be the kind of person who's bunking off work anyway.
Yeah.
And if you feel annoyed or offended that somebody's made a video about people that do, just think it's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not about me.
Yeah. That's good advice.
It's the only thing you can do, really.
Yeah.
Just get on with it. Get your head down and get it done.